Welcome to Asian Book Club, where we highlight Asian and Asian American authors. We are your hosts,
Jamae and Sabangan.
And I'm Stephen Park. And today we bring you our special episode of Did You Eat Yet? In this episode, we wanted to go back and look at the 5 books that we've read in the past. That was Multo by Cindy Fazzi, The Storm We Made by Vanessa Chan, The Mythology Class by Arnold Arre, Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan, and Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jesse Q. Sutanto. In this version of Did You Eat Yet?, Jamae had the idea for what we're going to be gathering in terms of the food items that we're going to be looking at.
And before we move forward, for those of you who are listening to the Did You Eat Yet episode for the first time, we are essentially pairing foods with the books that we've read.
Right, so the 5 past books that we've read.
And so for this Did You Eat Yet, we're pairing the books with picnic foods.
Yep. So it's summertime. It's that time to get out in the sun. Unless you're Jamae, then you try to find clouds and hide in them.
Or an umbrella.
Or a tree, which there are plenty of in Portland, not in other places. But it's just that time to kind of be out and have a really fun kind of light picnic. And because in these past reads, we've had a couple of dark books, hopefully this kind of lightens them up a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to each open up our little picnic baskets, and we're going to pull out one thing at a time of things we want to reveal and what book that they're related to. So Jamae, how about you go first, and if we open up that little wicker basket, what do we find?
So the first thing that we pull out from this wicker basket is a nice jug of iced tea. And the book that I paired the iced tea with is The Mythology Class by Arnold Arre. The reason why I chose this was because the book was such a nice and light and refreshing way to segue between hard and difficult books.
Right. I'm going to reach into my basket, and I'm also going to pull out something that relates to Mythology Class, but this one is going to be a vegetable lumpia. Now, there's a place in Cerritos, California. There's 2 locations. We've only been to one of them, called Luisa and Sons.
Yes, so good.
And so they do a veggie lumpia that is massive. It's like half the size of a forearm. And it's very large, it's thick, it has carrots, bean sprouts, onions, cabbage, I think. And they also have a side of the vinegar. And for me, that's kind of what Mythology Class was. It was so happy, it was light, it was so refreshing to eat that all I could think of was this happiness that I also get from eating this very specific lumpia.
Absolutely. Next up, from my basket, we pick up a mac salad, which I paired with Multo by Cindy Fazzi. And the reason why I chose a mac salad for this book is because everyone loves a mac salad, and it's so easy to eat all of it all at once because it goes down so well.
So you said mac salad.
Yes.
Do you have a specific mac salad in mind? Because there are different types of mac salads. There's like the American mac salad that's like sweet and...
No. Not the sweet kind. It's gotta be the mac salad from Hawaii.
Yeah, like the ones that you get with like the entree of rice and something, and then you get that mac salad.
Yep.
That's what I assumed that you were thinking of, but just wanted to clarify.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to reach into my basket, and the next thing I pull out is like a little appetizer item. It's one that's going to be specific to Malaysia. So this is going to be the storm we made for me, and it's going to be chicken satay. So it's not an original dish from Malaysia as far as I know, but they have their own version of it. And the reason why I chose it is because a good satay has some char to it. It has some really good kind of burntness and some harshness, which is what the storm we made was. It wasn't a story that was light, but it had so much depth, and it was only created by the amount of darkness that kind of came along with the stories that we followed from these characters.
For sure. That's so interesting, because the next thing that I pull out is also the storm we made, and it's also chicken related, which is, the item is rotisserie chicken sandwich. And for those of you who know me, you know that I'm a vegetarian, but when I still ate meat, I loved a rotisserie chicken sandwich because, same as the satay, the burntness of the chicken skin is just chef's kiss. And with the storm we made, something about it was so filling and heavy at the same time. Like, even though there was a lot of darkness, like you said, Stephen, there was also this heartfelt feeling that you'd get when you're reading the book.
Right, right. So next, I'm gonna break up the mood and reach into my basket and pull out an iced green tea lemonade. And this may go against this book and character's wishes because they are very pure to the T. And so this is gonna be Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. And for me, it was the whole idea of T was such a strong driver of this book. It was the eventual evidence that Vera Wong used for coming to the conclusion that she did at the very end. It was the driver of the story. And what we see with Tea and Tea Times is that it bonds people together and it creates a place where discussions and discourse and human connection can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that's why I chose that green tea. And I just want a little bit of lemonade to lighten things up. And it's also not like brisk or Arizona. Like it's not that sweet stuff. It's like real green tea with a splash of lemonade.
Mm.
So like still authentic. So hopefully Vera doesn't get mad, but very delicious, very light, which is also kind of what this book was for me.
Is there a particular place that you're getting this green tea lemonade?
From home,
Oh, nice. So
making
it's
it.
homemade.
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly.
Nice.
What do you have next for us?
What I have next is a tuna sandwich.
Wow. So many sandwiches.
Yes. You gotta have choices, because if you only have one entree, then it kind of gets boring. Anyway, the tuna sandwich is paired with Crazy Rich Asians, because not everyone's gonna like it, but a lot of people do.
Hmm.
I love tuna sandwiches, but I'm not particularly a fan of Crazy Rich Asians. It was well written, but it wasn't my cup of tea.
Hmm. I'm gonna reach into my basket next and also pull out something related to Crazy Rich Asians. And I was the same way, but I think overall the story still created the movie, so I still have a fondness when I think of Crazy Rich Asians. I don't think of the book being bad, I think of the movie being good.
For sure.
With that said, I haven't tried this next dish, but it sounded so good when I was looking things up. So it's called the roti john. And roti john is this sandwich. And the backstory behind this sandwich is that an Englishman went to a street food vendor and asked him to make him a hamburger. He described how a hamburger was supposed to be like, and with that description, the guy made him what he thought he had. It
Mm,
was a baguette, mutton, eggs, onion, ketchup, and chili sauce.
wow.
He then presented the so-called hamburger to the guide and said, I'm not going to say it in the other language, but he pretty much said, please eat John, which is like a random general Caucasian male name.
Mm,
So that was how the sandwich was created. For me, Crazy Rich Asians was Singapore. It introduced the world to what Singapore is like. And I'm assuming most people, especially the people that I know, had no idea what Singapore was prior to this movie. And we didn't really understand the diversity and the blending of cultures that was really there,
for sure.
which for me, that's what the sandwich sounds like. It's this randomness, and there's the English portion of it, and then there's just all these different food items that create what looks like an extremely good dish.
Mm, totally see that.
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that your next item is probably something sweet.
It is. Or it can be.
Mm-hmm.
The last item in my basket is oolong tea, which you can add sugar. And I'm pairing it with Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers because tea. But not only that, oolong gives you this warm feeling, and that's exactly how I felt when I read this book. It settled the stomach, it made me feel warmth, and it also made me feel happy.
Yep. Then that means I have the last one. And I don't even think I'm gonna be able to eat this because I'm pretty sure Jamae's gonna steal it as soon as I pull it out.
Mm,
So my last book is Multo. I'm gonna reach in, and the reason why I chose this is because it's so fun. It's a chase, so it kind of has you on the edge of your seat. So it's not just a sandwich, but there's this place. Once again, this one's in downtown LA. It's called B Suite. It's a Filipino shop, and most of their items are like bakeries and other goods. But they have this one item which is an ube ice cream sandwich. Ube because the character from Multo is kind of fighting this Americanized Filipino-ness within himself. And the ice cream sandwich because it's just so fun to eat. So it's that ube ice cream sandwich, which is warm on the outside, it's cold and has that richness of flavor of actually kind of tasting like a very sweetened version of ube. And it tastes so good. And for me, it just kind of like rounded out my whole meal of what these five books were for me, which is darkness and lightness and humor and tears and
Mm,
frustration with like joy. And I don't know, these last five selections of books for me really created such a good picnic basket.
absolutely.
You have to pick and choose which ones you read. Each one is not meant for all times.
Right. And if you followed us along with the reads, good for you because this was hard. This was definitely a hard selection of books.
I think so, but also like mythology class was so good. The other books were really good, except one of them. But mythology class was so tremendously good, and then Vera Wong's was surprisingly so good. I really enjoyed Multo. The Storm We Made was dark, but man, that book came out of nowhere and it got released in
Yes.
February, so it's like a brand new book for your bookshelf. I don't know. This one was, I think, dis- a very good eclectic choice of material to kind of go through.
For sure. And when I say hard, I don't mean that they're difficult books to read, but they have subjects that are hard to talk about.
Right,
And
right,
so it might be difficult in that way to encounter them.
right. So those were our picnic baskets. Both of ours sound really good.
Yes.
I definitely choose mine. I'm also lactose intolerant, and the fact that I chose the ube ice cream tells you how good it is. There's also a lot of butter in
Yes.
the actual like buns or whatever it is. So if you're in the Cerritos area, go to Luisa and Sons and try the lumpia. I swear it's so a lot of their items are good, but that one's really good. If you're in downtown LA, go to B Suite, try the ube ice cream sandwich. It's incredible. Otherwise, that is going to be our episode of Did You Eat Yet? If you want to get into contact with us, if you have other items that you thought paired better with certain books, how can people reach out to us?
You can email us at asianbookclubpod@gmail.com or join the conversation on Instagram at asianbookclubpod.
Yep, and we also have our website, which is asianbookclubpod.com, which has our bookstore that has books that we've read in the past, books that we recommend, and books that we plan to read in the future.
And a great way to support us is to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast.
Otherwise, make sure to be happy, be healthy, and read a book.
Ingat.
Bye.
Bye.